Hello YouTube and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes and today I'm round the garage messing about with my old Ford Escorts, which is nothing new. But what is new is this custom prop shaft, and the first job of the day is to fit this to the Mark 1. Now those of you who follow me on Instagram or follow my Facebook page will know that I recently went down to see a company called Prop Shaft Services in Feltham to have this made up. Those of you who don't follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you can do using the links in the description of this video. Prop Shaft Services turned this job round in just a couple of days, and I found out that they're the ones that make prop shafts for Guardtrack. Now Guardtrack are a very well known supplier of competition escort parts, and they're well renowned for the quality of the parts that they sell. So if it's good enough for Guardtrack, it's definitely good enough for me, and I'm sure this prop shaft will be able to handle all the abuse that the ST170 can throw at it. So the main body of the prop shaft has been made using 3-inch steel tubing. It's got 2 brand new heavy duty UJs fitted. It's been fully balanced, and they even gave it a lick of black paint so it looks the part. This end they fitted the heavy duty flange that I supplied, that I bought from Motorsport Tools, and although I did take a used RX-8 prop shaft down with me, they actually already had an RX-8 yoke for the gearbox end in stock, so now means I've got a used RX-8 prop shaft that I can put back on eBay and make a few quid back. Now fitting the prop shaft is a very simple job, so I'm just going to jack up the Mark 1 and crack on with it. So to fit this is literally just a case of greasing up this end slightly and in there as well. Slide this end into the gearbox, and then you bolt this flange onto the flange that's on the diff, and I bought these brand new bolts for that off of eBay. Right, so that's the prop on. I've only done the bolts up finger tight at the moment. Everything's going to be checked under here before it's on the road anyway. And that's the gearbox end, with the prop sticking out a little bit just to allow for movement, which is just how you want it. Now that the prop's fitted, when the time comes I can fill the gearbox up with oil without it spilling out of the tail shaft, which is another step towards getting the engine started. So, right, while the passenger side's in the air, there is one other job I want to do quickly. So this is my high torque starter, made by a company called Powerlight, and I had this fitted to the car when I was running a Pinto. You can't use a Pinto starter on a Z-Tech because the throw of the pinion is different. But I read somewhere that if you space it out by 14mm away from the bell housing, you can use it. So I've had this spacer made up by A.R.VALLI in Uxbridge. And as I mentioned in a previous video, he's my go-to guy when it comes to anything to do with precision engineering. So if you're local to Uxbridge and you need any precision engineering done, do give him a shout. I'll leave all his details in the description. There is literally nothing he can't do when it comes to making stuff out of metal. So yeah, spacer basically goes on like that. Now a standard Pinto starter has 3 holes like this, whereas this has 2, but I had the spacer made up with the 3 holes. I gave him basically part of a standard starter so that he can make this up, which means that obviously this middle bolt I'll be able to actually bolt to the bell housing, and then these 2 will have the bolts going through the starter and then through the spacer and into the bell housing. So yeah, looks pretty good. Now I was just going to sell this starter and buy a starter motor that's actually suitable for the Z-Tech conversion, but my dad actually bought this for my birthday a few years ago, and I hate selling things that I've got as presents, so it's going to be better having a high torque starter than a standard starter anyway. And I think you need one of these high torque starters if you want to run one of those small racing batteries, which I might do later on. So CANT. I'm not sure if you'll be able to make it out on here, but looking through the back of the bell housing, I can see that although the pinion's very close to the ring gear, it does clear. So with a bit of luck, once the starter's engaged, it will mesh with the ring gear nicely, and that'll be sweet. So I was round here yesterday and decided to fit the radiator. I had this fitted when I was running a Pinto. Basically, it's an alloy version of the Mk1 Escort RS2000 radiator. And the good thing about this radiator is that you don't need to buy the cutout panel that goes underneath the radiator. You still need to buy a fan for it, so it'll have to come out at some point to fit that. I refitted my Pro Alloy washer bottle as well. It's starting to be able to see what it's going to look like once it's all finished. I was having a look at the wiring yesterday as well, just trying to remember what everything is. These relays that I've added, one's for the fan and one's for headlights, I think. I did have them bolted, something like that, but I think they're going to be a bit close to the manifold with this setup, so I might have to take this bracket off and then just screw them to the inner wing, something like that. Should be far enough away. Maybe have to heat shield it as well, we'll see. One thing that I am going to have to do, these heater pipes that come through the bulkhead, I'm going to have to cut them back. I had to do the same thing in my Mark II. I just cut them in situ in the Mark II. I wasn't really bothered about damaging any paint with a hacksaw, but I think with this car I'm going to have to remove the heater box and cut them down. I'll probably cut them so they're virtually flush with the bulkhead, and then I can always do up the Jubilee clips from inside the car, and then there's no risk of the hoses rubbing against like the back corner of this engine when it's running and stuff. Basically one of them hoses needs to go onto the water rail down there, and then the other one needs to come round and join up with the bottom radiator hose down here. There is an oil cooler, standard one the ST170 came with. I'm not sure if I'm going to bother plumbing that in. If so, obviously that one will come through that and then out of that into the bottom radiator hose. I had to beat this bulkhead back a bit just so that I've got space for the coolant temperature sender and the plug for it. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. All of this side of the engine bay is probably going to be protected with some heat shield anyway, so the heat shield will also take your eye off of where I've had to panel beat that. So I managed to wire up the fuel pump yesterday as well, which means I'm now ready to test my plumbing for leaks. Fingers crossed. Alright, so I've decided that I'm going to take that heater out today and cut them pipes back. It's been bugging me for a while, so I might as well just get it done. So I'm going to have to take this switch panel off, move all this wiring out the way, and I've just got 4 bolts to undo. That's one of them, 2 each side, and then should pull out, take these pipes off as well. So what I've done is I've wrapped a bit of tape around the heater pipes, roughly where they meet the bulkhead, just so I've got a guide of where to cut it once I've got the heater box out. Alright, so switch panel's out, got the pipe off the heater. I'll just tuck all the wires out of the way. Alright, so I've got the heater box out of the car finally. Now I've noticed that where I've marked it here, this is where it was sort of flush with the bulkhead. Just after that, the pipes go at an angle. Now I'm hoping that that is not going to cause any problems when I go to fit the hoses and do the Jubilee clip up from inside. But I've read that a lot of people do cut them flush. So basically I'm just going to cut it where I've marked it, which is right where it kinks. And that should be sweet and give me enough room in the engine bay so that the hoses aren't leaning against the engine or anything. Right, so finished cutting the pipes. Just gave the heater a flush through as well, just in case there's any bits of copper in there. Actually, loads of rusty coloured water came out, so it's probably a good job that I gave it a flush. Just going to dry it off now and get it back in the car. Got the heater back in. Such a mission of a job, man. Just like, it's really awkward to get in there, and one of the bolts is hidden behind the wiper motor, so I had to like loosen that a bit. Yeah, got there in the end. Gonna get the switch panel back in now and put the heater pipes back on. Heater pipes are now flush with the bulkhead, which is what I wanted to achieve, so right, so that's all I'm going to be doing today on the Mark 1. Another couple of jobs done, another small step towards getting her back on the road. If you've got any questions about anything I've done in this video, do put them down in the comments and I'll definitely get back to you. And check the links in the description as well for information on any companies that I've mentioned in this video. Also, you can find links to my Instagram and my Facebook page in the description. If you've got your own classic Ford, make sure you send over some pictures to my Facebook page. I'm always keen to look at other people's cars. I'm probably going to be taking a bit of a break from the Mark 1 over the next month or so, because there's a couple of jobs that I need to get done on the Mark 2, but I'll give you more information about that in another video. As always, if you thought this video was any good, give it a thumbs up. If you thought it was shit, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe to be kept up to date with any other videos that I post in the future. Until next time, thanks for watching.